This video will contain spoilers for Arcane Season 1 and 2 in their entirety. You've been warned. Arcane is amazing, and for the most part, I've absolutely loved it. I considered the show to be my favorite of all time when Season 1 first came out, and I honestly didn't know how they were going to top it with the inevitable second season. As soon as Season 2 started airing, however, I knew they had something incredible on their hands. Acts 1 and 2 were fantastic, with Act 2 in particular being, in my opinion, the best act of the whole show. So many amazing character moments, so many huge reveals, it was perfect. Perfect. Going into Act 3, I was initially amazed. Episode 7 is honestly probably my favorite episode in the entire series. It was so good, but as I reached the credits, I thought to myself, there are only 2 more episodes left. Only 2 episodes to somehow conclude every single plot point and character arc in the show. This was when I started worrying. There was just so much to cover in these 2 episodes, and I asked myself, will they be able to pull this off? Well, you've seen the title of the video. The answer, in my opinion, is no. I also want to clarify that none of my issues here are going to relate to the canon. I've seen so many people online complaining about this ending because it ruins the League of Legends canon or it doesn't line up with the lore. I don't care about any of that. Despite being a League player for a decade, I always considered Arcane to be something completely separate. I don't care about the continuity, I don't care about the canon, none of that stuff matters to me. I'm going to be critiquing the show solely on its own merit. Alright, with that being said, let's get into it. My issue with this ending comes from the pacing. This might be the most rushed 2-episode ending I've ever seen in my life. It honestly felt to me like the writers just put so much time and effort into ensuring the first 7 episodes were absolutely perfect that they forgot they only had 2 episodes left to end the show, and just started scrambling to squeeze every single thing they wanted to include in the ending into only 2 episodes. This doesn't work, and in my opinion, the ending completely missed its mark. From the beginning, there was one main focus in Arcane: Piltover and Zaun. The power struggles and conflict between the two. It was the whole point of the show, with characters good and bad on both sides. This dynamic defined the first season, and a good part of the second season. In my opinion, this ending flushes all of this right down the toilet. Everything that made Zaun and its people interesting was just erased. In this finale, they just decide to forgive and forget because Jace gives the cliche, we have a greater common enemy and we need to band together and put our differences aside. Am I the only one who finds this incredibly lazy? After everything that happened in the first season, they decided to end the Piltover-Zaun conflict with a 2-minute speech. I'm not exaggerating here, the whole thing gets resolved in 2 minutes, and from that point on, it's never mentioned again. It's just so lazy. It feels to me like the writers had an idea for the ending. They wanted it to be a huge fight where Piltover and Zaun teams up to stop Victor and the Arcane. But they just ran out of time building it up, so decided to completely end the Piltover versus Zaun stuff so they could fit the ending into a mere 9 episodes. It ends up feeling like a completely shoehorned MCU final fight. It just doesn't work at all. To me, this is just bad writing. I'm not even against the idea they had for the ending, but it needed to feel earned, and this just doesn't. There wasn't enough time to build it up. There are so many ideas here, and it just feels like they ran out of time and gave up on them. I unironically think if they added 3 more episodes before episode 8 and 9, and kept those 2 episodes the exact same after, this could have been a great ending. I'm gonna be honest, considering that they dropped the whole Piltover vs. Zaun thing and decided to focus entirely on the Arcane Hextech stuff, I would have at least expected that to be well executed, but it just wasn't. I've watched the season 2 times now, and I still don't really have an idea of what the Arcane is. I have guesses, I can make a few loose assumptions, but nothing is explained properly here. Alright, I'll show you what I mean. Let's do some recapping. Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger visit the Hexcates, and the Arcane appears? I think this might be the Arcane. They also mentioned Wild Runes right before, so it might be that too. I also have no idea what Wild Runes are because it was never explained, but I digress. They then get sent back into another universe, setting up episode 7. But even before that, there's a huge air of mystery. Jace comes back in episode 4 and 5 with a mission. He reappears and he's now schizophrenic, he kills Sallow, and then immediately shoots a hole into Victor Jesus. Okay, this is some crazy shit. This is awesome. At this point, us as the audience are like, oh my god, he's seen some insane stuff. Hextech must be in huge danger. Can't wait for this to get explained later. And it just doesn't. We skipped to episode 7, and again, Echo and Heimerdinger stuff was phenomenal. Great character development for Echo. But the Jace stuff? Here's what we got from this. Jace is in a destroyed Piltover in the future, everything is messed up, everyone is dead, and there's evil magic creatures around. Jace follows this hooded man around and says something like, "I can stop this or I can fix this," and then he returns. Notice how we essentially learned nothing new throughout this whole episode when it comes to Jace and the Arcane or Hex Tech? Okay, we know he got sent forward in time or to some other reality, but besides that, literally nothing is learned here. We already knew that Jace must have seen some terrible stuff and learned the Arcane is bad. He literally said so when he appears back in the Hex Gates and kills Sallow. The first thing he says to Victor is, "Hex Tech is a curse and we need to end it." Episode 7 completely fails to tell the viewer, well, anything. Yeah, we already knew Jace found out Hex Tech is bad. Are you gonna show us why Hex Tech is bad? What the Arcane really wants? Oh, nope. But hey, we did find out how he lost his leg, and how he ended up looking like this. Jace comes back, and suddenly Victor is evil. Okay, is that going to be explained? Last we saw, he was living that Jesus life. I mean, sure, he's probably mad that Jace shot him, and episode 6 ended with him talking about the nature of humanity and evil, but like, this isn't enough. This doesn't show us how he transformed into a villain. We don't understand what's going on here. What are his motivations? How did he become like this? What is he talking about? I have no idea. My assumption when watching the show was that the Arcane / Hex Tech / Wild Runes / whatever this is had taken control of him. It took control of his mind. Okay, why? It's later basically revealed that his goal is to turn everyone into the magic-possessed people? Okay, that's it? People will defend this by saying, no, Victor thinks that emotions are the weakness of humanity and he wants to turn everyone into the magic Hextech thing so they don't have to suffer anymore. This just makes no sense, and even if that is true, it's A, not explained well in the show, and B, incredibly lazy. So that's it then? After all the build-up, it's revealed that Victor is just being controlled, presumably by the Arcane, and they're trying to turn the world into possessed, soulless magic creatures. Maybe my expectations are too high or something, but that's pretty lame and boring. But even that could have worked better if it felt earned. Right after episode 6 or 7, there should have been a full episode dedicated to Victor inside of the cocoon. That would do a couple of things. Firstly, it would show the transformation of Victor, so the audience would understand why he ended up being evil, and the final antagonist of the show. Maybe it could show Victor resisting against it, but ultimately losing and being consumed by it. Maybe there could have been a subplot showing that Victor is being manipulated by the Arcane. Maybe even being manipulated by Skye. Maybe show some scenes of Skye explaining why he has to do what he has to do. Explaining everything, explaining how he became evil, explaining why he needs to do this. This would allow us to actually see why Victor turned out this way. Something that's completely missing in the show. It could also explain to the audience who the real villain is, who's pulling the strings, what is the Arcane, why is Hextech bad? Because it destroyed the world Jace got sent to. We needed something more than that. Anything. This would have made the final fight so much more impactful. Another big issue with the finale is Ambessa. I actually really loved Ambessa this season. I thought she honestly steals the show in the first 6 episodes, and I was so happy to see how it would end. And yeah, they honestly ruined her character. Why is she such an idiot in the last 3 episodes? Her motivations make no sense. Okay, she originally worked with Singe because she wanted Warwick. That makes sense. She came to Piltover for the Hextech so she could beat the Black Rose, and once that failed, she opted for Zaun, for other weapons that could help her. Episode 8 starts with Ambessa agreeing to use her forces to bring Victor to the Hex Gate, so he can become all-powerful or whatever, if he agrees to empower all of her soldiers. Okay. Her daughter Mel gets her superpowers and then tells Ambessa to leave Piltover, and that if she does, she will help her take on the Black Rose with her newly found powers, and Ambessa refuses. Oh, and just for good measure, she fights her daughter, and honestly, it looks like she's trying to kill her, even though apparently family is everything to her. But she would fight her daughter to the death just so she can turn all of her soldiers into magic monsters and kill the Black Rose? Like, is she stupid? Did Ambessa not question why every single person in Piltover and Zaun were teaming up to stop Victor from reaching the Hex Gates? I guess she just somehow didn't know that Victor was trying to basically destroy the world and turn everyone into lifeless zombies? What was so cool about her character before is that she was cunning. She manipulated people to get what she wants, and she was ruthless. But this ending just makes her feel stupid. She's getting manipulated by Victor? Okay, I guess. She fights Caitlyn and Mel and then dies. That's it. That's the end of Ambessa. Her motivations here are just stupid, and she goes out so randomly. I actually did a double take when she died. I was like, this can't be it, right? There's no way after everything they built up with her, she dies like this. But she does. I don't have a problem with Ambessa dying, but this was very, very unfulfilling. The Black Rose stuff also got no payoff or explanation. I imagine this is because they want to leave it for the inevitable Noxus show, but one more episode dedicated to Ambessa and the Black Rose could have fixed a lot of problems here. My final major issue is with Vi and Jinx. I really like their arcs in the first 2 acts. Jinx rising as a force that will unite Zaun, the hero they've always needed. She's literally rallying a flag in the opening. This is completely forgotten by the last act. It's just dropped. Did the writers lose the chapter that was supposed to end off Jinx's character arc? Her build-up was so good. She sees herself in Isha and through Warwick returns to Vi, and there were some incredible moments in Act 2 with her. And then Isha dies, amazing moment by the way, and that's really it. She's depressed and in jail, she refuses to help Vi in Piltover and runs away, tries to blow herself up, Echo convinces her not to, and then she joins the fight and sacrifices herself to save Vi. Is it just me, or are there a lot of parts missing here? She's barely in the 3rd act. The alternate universe powder actually gets more screen time. This ending, in theory, could have worked really well. I think Jinx sacrificing herself to save Vi is a great idea for her character, but again, it just didn't feel earned. It kind of felt like it was out of nowhere. Her and Vi were warming up to each other in Act 2, but definitely not to the point where I thought Jinx had turned good again. And not to the point where the relationship between them was fixed either. Yeah, they were friendly, there were good moments, but it feels like we just skipped a chapter and went straight to the ending. Maybe more time of Vi and Jinx together, maybe revisiting old locations like the last drop. Oh wait, she burned that down. Maybe Vi consolidating her and trying to make her feel better about losing Isha. I don't know, just something to signify that Jinx is actually fully changed, and is in a position where she would sacrifice herself for her sister. Honestly, these two just needed more screen time in general. They feel like side characters in their own show. When it comes to Vi, she's also very underwhelming. We never even get to see Vi's reaction to what's going on in the final chapter. I thought for sure Vi would be the one asking questions about what's going on. She would ask Jace, hey, why is a magic army in Noxus coming to attack Piltover? And then Jace would give some exposition and clear things up. But this just never happened. Bit of an aside here, but I also think something Season 2 is lacking in general were those small character moments. We really just don't get them here. It feels like the characters barely interact in most of the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Vi and Echo spoke one single word to each other in the entire season. I don't think Jace said a word to Ambessa. Stuff like this would just improve the characters and make the conflict seem way more developed. But I guess they just skipped out on it because they didn't have time. Warwick was also disappointing, but I honestly just considered him dead after episode 6. He basically is. He served as a tool to bring Vi and Jinx together and develop their characters, and nothing more. They didn't want him to be an actual character in the show, and you know what? I'm fine with that. Do I think they could have done more with him? Sure, but it's not a huge issue. I'm not gonna lie, guys. The ending of Arcane really disappointed me. That's not to say it was all bad. There were definitely good moments. I do think Jace and Victor's ending was a really cool way for them to go out. Even though, again, it didn't feel earned and honestly didn't even make a lot of sense. I have no idea what's going on here, but it looks cool, so whatever. At the end of the day, I feel like all of these issues could have been fixed if the writers just had more episodes. I don't know if it's a Riot Games thing or a Netflix thing, but why limit themselves to 9 episodes? Just because the first season was? 9 episodes is really not a lot of time, especially considering the scope of what they wanted in Season 2. It's just a huge shame. I truly believe that Arcane Season 2 could have been, honestly, some of the best media ever made if they just had a few more episodes and just took a little bit more time to address the things I've talked about, to flesh out the characters, to make the plot more understandable. Then the whole thing would have felt earned and it would have been amazing. But, oh well, you can't change it now. That's about all I've got for this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my points and what you thought of the Arcane ending and Season 2 in its entirety. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. This is actually my first time ever making a video like this. If you look on my channel, almost all my videos are related to Tekken. I make scripted video essays on Tekken, but I've been wanting to branch out and try other stuff. So if you guys enjoyed this and want to see me talk about more shows, games, other stuff like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's a really, really big help. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you later. Take it easy.